Hello and welcome to the new moon in Cancer 2023. Who wants to scream right now? I have a scream. Who? My gosh. Okay. In this house, we respect the new moon in Cancer. It is always such a significant moment for us to give consideration. We actually did our first live reading of a moon reading, like in voice format, not written format, with last year's new moon in Cancer. So we really love this new moon, and it is such a beautiful time for recommitment, doubling down, really like saying, okay, you know what, I set these intentions and I surrender to what they are over my life. Being the first new moon following the solstice this year, hey, my God me. I don't know, guys. Listen, everything is happening right now. Everything is happening right now. It's retrograde season, okay? And then we've also just got a lot of squares and oppositions, a lot of tension in the astral bodies. Whew. Listen, when I look at the next, say, 6 weeks of astrology, it's tense. It's tense, and I already knew that this year's season of Uguzinza is going to start 2 weeks early. But now that we're here, now that we're actually starting the season of Uguzinza, meditation, retreat, waiting, introspection, I'm like, oh, this is why. Now that I've got the details in front of me, I'm like, oh, who would want to be outside and all of that? Who? Not me. Definitely not me. And I won't be. And I'll tell you why. Let's get into it. Welcome to this new moon reading in Cancer from Sangoma Society with me, Makhosi Nomabutho. Here we demystify the ancestral, and we do these moon readings in the capacity of ubunyanga betu. The word nyanga means both to heal as well as the moon. And through our work to share our understanding of what the movements of the celestial bodies mean to us, moving on this little rock floating through space for our mental and emotional and spiritual existence, we hope to bring you a life, or at least a lifeline, to a more conscious way of confronting the reality that you find yourself in. Let's get into this. Oh, gosh. Okay. My chest is hot. My chest is hot. I'm not even sick like that. I don't have, God has been good. But my chest is hot, okay? Because, like, what's happening in the sky right now is a lot. So there's only one thing that it comes down to for me. We have to go back to look at the contributing factors, look at what the data is telling us. Where are we? It's the new moon in Cancer this coming Monday, the 17th of July, 2023. When Cancer is ruling the new moon, we're seeing both the sun and the moon domiciled in the sign of Cancer. Now, this is very home for the moon. You know, the moon is at home in Cancer because the ruler of Cancer is actually the moon, which is our emotional lives and the call to nurture and be nurtured. But the sun is also in Cancer. So both the moon and the sun in the same sign. And this is the opposite sign to the moon. So there's a little bit of tension, but you know, this is also a time when we see intentions being set. But this moon, the Cancer new moon for me is never the time to set intentions. You know, you had the solstice. That was the moment. I don't know how to tell you. That was the moment. Now it's surrender. Hey! Makhosi. Ooh, Makhosi. If you haven't heard us before, the burps, the yells, the yawning, the screaming, ancestors breathing through my mortal body. Many ancestors, one body. It can sound many different ways. Makhosi. So, back to this new moon. When we see the new moon in Cancer, the call is always the same. Surrender. You want to surrender. The crab that represents Cancer in the zodiac is this interesting creature that can be found in fresh water, salt water, the banks of rivers. Sometimes just only needing a rock in a small freshwater stream in the middle of the forest to make home and life. And sometimes making home in the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean that science has yet to be able to explain or venture to. Unfamiliar waters. Not the tide you swim in. Not a time to be making grand shifts in direction. If it feels like realizations right now, it's because it is. If you find yourself questioning a lot of things right now, it's because you are. Surrender. A powerful tool of surrendering is to trust your timing. When you trust the timing of your life, you say to yourself, if all is as it should be, then why am I experiencing what I am experiencing now? If this realization is coming to the surface at this moment, if I'm suddenly seeing this baggage as something that I've been carrying with me, weighing me down as I try to traverse my path, why now? Is it maybe time for me to set it down because it's not serving my path? These are the things one asks when it comes to surrender and trusting the timing of our lives with the new moon in Cancer. This new moon in Cancer in particular is compounded by so many transits and the deep onset of retrograde season. We already began retrograde season, but now it's just going like it's going a gear down. And over the next 6 weeks, we're just going to keep going lower and lower into those gears. It is really that time when you have to remember the intentions that you set for this year and trust that everything that is happening around you at this moment is happening for you, not to you. Recently, with the solstice, we did our quarterly check-in for the restful reset. And what I saw, the most powerful insight, I believe, I walked away from that session was that sometimes we may not have the perspective when life is going on and we're just fighting our way through and we can't even see how we're taking any action that is towards the intention that we set. But the integrity of the intention is what tends to carry us through, even in the dark moments. You find yourself gaining a perspective that shows you what it is that you actually need to shed in order to maintain the integrity of your intention. And even when it feels like there's nothing you're doing that's keeping you on your path, your intention alone, the power of your intention, is actually keeping you on your path. That can be enough. You're going to need to remind yourself of that intention with this new moon in Cancer, because there's a lot in the sky that's coming to ask you questions about what it is that you actually are beholden to. It's just after the halfway mark of the year, and that resolve that you had with the January chutzpah, it's starting to crack where it cracks. The question that it's cracking and exposing is, what are you letting yourself be influenced by? Are your influences external? Is that what is setting your intention? How you want to be seen, what you want to have? Or are your influences internal? Who you want to become? The integrity of your purpose. Because there's some things, even some goals that you've set, that you don't need to be holding on to. You might be asking why the intention just doesn't feel like it can carry you. Because maybe what needs to be done is to interrogate that intention. To interrogate what informs that intention. What carries you through the year. Is not anything outside of yourself, but what comes from within yourself. And you're going to be able to renew and recommit to the intention that is born from meeting a need that is intrinsic to your soul's purpose. But you're going to struggle with holding to intentions that have external outcomes as their genesis. If you're asking yourself if it's worth it, yeah, it's about the time for that. Let your mind go there. It's okay. It's okay. It's retrograde season and it's going to be like that at all. Let's get into the details of the aspects, the transits that we are seeing right now as we go into this new moon in Cancer. Ngoba kona kuningi is a lot. Ooh, okay. We've got the new moon opposing Pluto in Capricorn. So new moon in Cancer, opposite Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn right now. So there's secrets coming to the surface, things that we may have even been hiding from ourselves, things we've been refusing to see in ourselves that are coming to the surface. And then you going to put that into the same basket as the reality that Chiron is about to go retrograde on the 23rd of July. So just 6 days after this new moon? And whew, there you go. Wounded healer. Those questions about those wounds, like what are you suppressing, what are you refusing to see? The tide of this new moon is just kind of lifting the sand that's gently covered all of that and letting it float to the surface. And if it stinks, clean it out. If the wound seems infected and you find yourself preoccupied with things from the past, clean it out. In the past, we've said when it comes to a new moon in Cancer that there is a lot of moon energy, and for those who are part of our community at Sangoma Society, because they know themselves to have an ancestral calling, especially those who are not initiated. But in this case, even if you're initiated, this is not strong intention setting energy. This is very much surrendered to the reality of what is energy. This is a new moon in which you want to do the work to let go. You can invert the process and lean deeply into that clearing work, that shadow work. When these things float to the surface, address them, be proactive with them. If you didn't go ahead and release the things that no longer serve you with the recent full moon, great time to do the work right now. Get on it. Do the shadow work. Do it now. Address it. You have the tools. Clearing into consciousness is right there. We're going to keep it open until the first day of the new moon on the 17th of July, at which point we will close enrollment. And the reason for that is you need this. You need this because there is too much coming up. There is too much coming up, too much coming to the surface. And if it feels really, really confrontational, and if it feels as though it's overwhelming, remember that this moon is not so much about proactivity. This new moon is not so much about proactivity, but more about what you need to let go in order to float. It's like when you think of surrender, think of the wounds, the baggage, the hate, the anger, the pain that you may be holding on to. Think of it as like weights, anvils in both of your hands. And think of this moon as the deep waters of the ocean. And you're trying to surrender, which is to just get to the surface and float. Float to the shore of wherever it is that you're supposed to be through trusting the timing of your life, right? But if you're holding on to these things, you're not going to float. You're going to sink. You're going to sink to the bottom, and you're going to be fighting the tide. You don't need to do that. Just let go so that you can float. And sometimes our hands are kind of atrophied around the things that we hold on to. We're clasping onto those wounds. We're clasping onto that pain. And it's like, it's what we identify with more than anything, and we can't let it go. And it's become part of our identity. It's become all of these things that we think we are. And it has even begun to write the dreams that we think we have. And we need some help to let it go. That's why we give you the tools. There's clearing into consciousness for that. Because this moon has got this incredible message for you around trusting your timing. This new moon in Cancer is trine Neptune in Pisces. Now, there's a lot going on there because Neptune is retrograde. Okay? Has been since the 30th of June. Saturn is retrograde in Pisces. These aspects call us to question our dreams, the work we're prepared to put in to the dreams that we have. And Neptune and Pisces really wants us to ask ourselves why we dream the dreams we dream. Are these really our dreams? Have we just adopted, co-opted whatever we think we're supposed to want? Or is this ours? Because some of what may feel like it is falling apart right now really is happening for you. We have this new moon sextile Uranus in Taurus. Uranus in Taurus is also looking at the pre-retrograde shadow roundabout now as well. So, Uranus in Taurus gives revolution energy. It's saying changing systems. It's saying breaking the old patterns to bring in the new. And when we're looking at its pre-retrograde shadow that we're entering into in the next few weeks, yeah, it might feel like it's falling apart. But it's not happening to you. Some of these things that you have taken as the status quo, how things are, just the way it is, and what one aspires to. Some of those things, they're not that. They were never meant to be internalized. They're systemic issues. They themselves need to be interrogated. They should not be the foundation of any of your aspirations. And you failing to meet those aspirations is that freedom that last full moon was trying to give you. You know, that freedom where that full moon in Capricorn was trying to free you from those fake rules that you wrote about what it takes to have the things that you want, the things that are breaking apart right now, that you feel are just not tangible, like you just cannot find a firm grasp on them, like no matter how much you apply yourself to them. Don't you just need to sit down and maybe ask yourself why you want those things? Think about it. Think about it. Because the thing that's happening with this new moon, there's a lot of energy moving on this new moon. A major move that's going to be happening is something that we won't see happening again for another 18 months, which is a movement in the north and south nodes. The true nodes are moving signs into Aries in the north node and Libra in the south node. Whoa! And that Aries in the north node is calling our power back strongly. So if there are things that have been informing your desires that aren't true to who you really are, those cracks are going to show now. If you only want that car because so-and-so has a car like that, you're going to start to see it. You're not failing to meet your car payment because just the financial crisis, but also why did you go for that car in particular? You know? Let your intentions be interrogated so that you can see what is happening for you, so that you can grow, so that you can be able to move into the energy of what Libra in the South Node brings us the opportunity for, which is to interrogate the relationships that we are a part of that don't serve our highest purpose. Remember, this new moon wants you to trust your timing. Surrender by trusting your timing. Now, if you are to trust your timing, that means that what is happening right now is happening for your highest good. And if it's happening for your highest good, why is it happening now? And if it's happening now to bring a spotlight for you to interrogate how the things that you have aligned yourself to, made yourself a party to, that are not in alignment with your purpose, are taking you off the path of your purpose, then isn't that a gift? Isn't that a moment for growth? Oh, there's a growing pain with this moon. Oh, there's a growing pain with this moon. Libra in the South Node really, really, really asks us these questions. And then when we combine that with the reality of Venus finally going retrograde on the 22nd, 23rd of this month, 22nd, 23rd of July, depending where you are on this planet. Venus going retrograde in Leo. The eyes turn inward. It is introspection. And the reality being that we are in retrograde season now, well and truly within retrograde season. Time to interrogate internally. Isikhathi sokuzinza. Time to sit with our intentions. Time to really surrender to the reality we find ourselves in. Time to confront the truth of our actions and where they put us on the path of our highest purpose in God. And if you feel lost in that, it's understandable. It can feel like a lot. That's why we encourage surrender so strongly. And that is why with every new moon following the solstice, we open, pivoting into purpose for enrollment. Once every 6 months, pivoting into purpose opens for enrollment, and for the next 6 weeks, I personally have decided that with everything that's going on in the ether, I'm going to be doing or progressing through pivoting into purpose much as we did the very first time that we did pivoting into purpose. And if you've ever been enrolled into any of our paid programs and you want to participate in pivoting into purpose, keep an eye on your inbox and see what offers we have there for you. Whoa! And if you've been enrolled in our free program and you'd like to be enrolled in pivoting into purpose, keep an eye on your inbox too. And if you're a subscriber only offer is also in your inbox if you would like to be enrolled into pivoting into purpose. Pivoting into purpose is the compass that you need to know that the path that you're walking is the path designated to you by your highest self. The path of purpose that you chose when you made the agreements that you made between yourself and your ancestors. This is why we're doing this work in the way that we're doing it. Over the next 6 weeks, if you've been wanting to join this program and you're like, okay, you know what? This is time. Join us. And over the course of the next 6 weeks, we're going to be coming back to center. Sizozinza. We're going to meditate on the truth of our highest purpose in God, as guided by our ancestors. We're going to lean into the intention that we set for this incarnation and this year, and decipher what it is that this moment in time is here to teach us. through the tools and the guided meditations and the work that we do inside of Pivoting into Purpose. If you're looking for that direction, you know where to find it. In all things, remember that this moment is calling for your surrender and for you to trust the timing of your life. As tense as the next 6 weeks may be, they're not happening to you, they're happening for you. The tensions, the oppositions, the squares, all of these transits, they're forcing these questions into your perspective because it is time that you answer these questions for yourself, for your life. Because remember, this is a foundation year. This is a year that's asking us what it is that we're prepared to do in order to live the life of our dreams. And why would you want to live the life of your dreams if your dreams are bits of borrowed things from the system that you find yourself living in? A system that is now falling apart, breaking apart, to be built anew with deeper integrity. And your life is calling you to play your part in how this all falls together for the highest good of humanity and of your soul, your own individual's soul's purpose in God, in your own desires, in your own happiness, in your own fruition, in your own manifestation of being on this rock floating through the universe. You're invited to use the tools that we make available to you to do this work, to come into the realization of who it is that you are. I look forward to seeing you in there. Mina ngingumakhosi Nomabutho. This is Sangoma Society, where we demystify the ancestral and the astral. Kukhanya.